Hey there, welcome into the show. I'm Chase Sr. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Thanks for hanging out here with me. And coming up, things really got interesting for Philadelphia following the NFL trade deadline. And in speaking of that, how did the deadline trades across the NFL impact the Eagles? It's all coming your way right now. Sit back, relax, and let's talk some birds. And I hope that you enjoyed the show. I also hope that you hit that subscribe button because we're closing in on a pretty special milestone of 90,000 subscribers. We are 114 people away from reaching that number, which will then put us 10,000 away from 100K. And once that happens, we're getting that silver plaque from YouTube. So as we know, Howie Roseman and the Eagles did not make any moves at the deadline. They like where they are offensively. They like where they are defensively. And we had talked about this on the show. We had an indication, we had a feeling that this was coming because Nick Sirianni said this, and then we'll get to what Vic Fangio had to say about the defense. First, the Eagles head coach said this 2 weeks ago. I love the team that we have, and I think this team is really coming together. With that being said, I know we're always looking for ways to improve our team. I know Howie is the best at that, of always looking at ways that he can improve the club. I admire that and value that with how he goes to work. But like I said, love the guys that we have. I think we're coming together really nicely as a team, but we'll see how this next week plays out. Each year is different. Again, like I said, any way that we can make the team better, I'm always up for that. As for what Vic Fangio said this week, and really the Eagles don't need an addition and didn't need an addition offensively. It was always, okay, are they going to bring in a defensive tackle, edge rusher, linebacker, corner, safety? But Fangio really likes his unit. It's hard to improve your team drastically this time of the year. I think if you look at some of those trades over the years, they really haven't had the effect that some teams were hoping for, unless it's a trade where you're getting a guy that you're going to have for a few years. Then it's more of a bigger trade than swapping guys, trading a sixth for a seventh, those types of things. And Howie Roseman has been pretty active with in-season trades. You think back to Jay Ajayi in 2017, Golden Tate after that, Robert Quinn a couple of years ago, Kevin Byard last year. But to Vic Fangio's point, outside of Jay Ajayi, those players didn't really make much of an impact. Golden Tate had that two-point conversion to beat the Bears during that double doink Cody Parkey playoff game in the wild card round back in 2018. But other than that, those other plays didn't really have much of an impact. And you can kind of see where the Eagles are at with their decision-making on this front. They like their club. They like their talent. They like how they're seeing some development from some of these marquee young players who they invested draft capital into, and then other players who they spent on in free agency. Going into Week 10, the Eagles are 11th offensively in points per game, 6th in yards per game, 10th in yards per play, 12th on third downs. They need to get better in the red zone, 15th there. They're at 56.6%. And then defensively, coming out of the bye, and since then, this has been one of the top units in the NFL. 9th in points per game, 3rd in yards per game, 5th in yards per play, 18th on third downs. That's an area where they need to get off the field a little bit better. And then 6th in the red zone. So while they're giving up some third downs, they do buckle down in the red area, but that's an area that you worry about, especially if you take on some upper echelon quarterbacks in the NFL. And then on top of the talent overview for this Eagles team that Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio were looking at, the division is up for grabs, and it's there for the taking. The Commanders have been spectacular, and they rank very high in a lot of key offensive categories and metrics. They're 7-2, but Philadelphia has 2 games remaining against Washington. So the division is there. I don't think you have to worry about the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Philadelphia should win that game, but any given Sunday, you never know. And then the Giants are bad, 2-7. They'll be picking in the top 10 in April's NFL draft. And then you flip the page to the NFC playoff picture. You want to see Philadelphia climb up the standings here. You have the divisional winners in those first 4 seeds. Lions, number 1 seed at 7-2. The Commanders at 7-2. So the Eagles could easily go from 6-2 with a win this week and a Commanders loss. The Falcons in 3rd place, leaders of the NFC South. at 6-3. They've separated themselves from other teams, including the Bucs, who are 4-5. You have the Cardinals at 5-4. Vikings, 5th seed at 6-2. The Eagles there, 6th seed at 6-2. So if the playoffs were to start right now, you would see Philadelphia go on the road against Atlanta, looking to avenge that Week 2 loss. You have the Green Bay Packers, and that Week 1 win looming large because the tiebreaker between the Eagles and Green Bay on the side of Philly after that Week 1 dub. These following teams on the bubble: Chicago, San Francisco, Rams, and Tampa Bay. So with that, who wins the NFC East here? Is it going to be the Eagles? Is it going to be Washington? Barring a miracle, I don't think it's going to be the Cowboys, and definitely not the New York Giants. So let me know down in the comment section right now. We're only ramping up, spreading our wings, and taking flight on today's Eagles Now. But first, let's get to our sponsor, DraftKings, the best sportsbook in the game. Right now, when you use the code SixersChat, because Chip and myself, we host a Sixers channel. That's why that code is what it is, but we want some crossover signups. If you bet $5, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Here's some more information on that. NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets that you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. And we were taking a look at the NFC playoff picture, the NFC East standings a little while ago. How about some Super Bowl odds from DraftKings? If you are confident in Philadelphia and you think that they can win a second Lombardi trophy, 12-1 odds, that's not bad value right there. For instance, you put down $1, you win $12. The Chiefs at 4-1, Lions at plus 450, Ravens at 6-1, Bills at 8-1. Kind of like where Philadelphia's at. Again, use that code SixersChat. Goes a long way in supporting us. We want DraftKings to be a long-term sponsor of Philadelphia Eagles now, Philadelphia 76ers now, and under the Chat Sports umbrella. And when you sign up, it does us wonders. So if you like what we do here at Chat Sports, be sure to use that code. We do appreciate it in advance. Okay, as for how things have gotten pretty interesting for Philadelphia, a lot of teams in the NFC, in the NFC East, and across the NFL made some pretty sizable trades during Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. The biggest one that probably directly impacts Philadelphia is the Commanders trading for Marshawn Lattimore, who, when healthy, is one of the top corners in the game. And a couple of years ago, he had nearly 20 pass breakups. Now, the last 3 years, including this year, he's been a little bit banged up. The Commanders get him from New Orleans and a 2025 fifth-round pick. The Saints, I think they got some pretty good value here for a declining and older player who's very expensive. Third-round pick, fourth-round pick, sixth-round pick. New Orleans has lost 7 games in a row. But Washington is a very interesting team. Jaden Daniels is balling out. They're running the ball successfully, throwing it successfully. They have some pretty good weapons on the offensive side. They've improved their offensive line, which was a massive problem the last few years. Their defense has been pretty good along the defensive line at that linebacker spot. They have struggled, though, to defend top wide receivers. And you think about Philadelphia, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You think about Dallas, C.D. Lamb. You think about the Giants, Malik Neighbors. Some of the other really good wide receivers across the NFC, Justin Jefferson. And so the Commanders go all in for a player in Marshawn Lattimore who, when healthy, one of the top corners in the game. Good range, good ball skills, plays with a lot of swagger, plays with physicality, and the Commanders are in a spot where they're leading the division. They're off to a tremendous start. They've been one of the top surprise teams in the NFL. Jaden Daniels is on his rookie contract. So go all in while your quarterback is making pretty much nothing and take advantage of that quarterback being on his rookie contract. Because if it's trending the direction that we think it's trending, Jaden Daniels, after his rookie contract comes to a close, could be making $60, $70 million if he continues on this trajectory. So try to win and win big right now while he's on that rookie deal and under team control, cost-controlled asset for the next 4 or 5 years. As for the Dallas Cowboys, I think that Jerry Jones got fleeced here. You think about DeAndre Hopkins and Deontay Johnson and Devontae Adams. Those wide receivers are much better than Jonathan Mingo, and they all went for something similar here. I know that Jonathan Mingo was a second or third round pick 2 seasons ago out of Ole Miss. He has some pretty good size. He runs pretty well. The Cowboys are missing a number 2 behind CeeDee Lamb. I'm just not sure that Jonathan Mingo is a good player. And so the Cowboys are giving up a 4th round pick for him. As for another team, which could be in the way of Philadelphia, making things interesting in the NFC, the Detroit Lions. Number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, a really good defense, but they lost Marcus Davenport earlier this year for the season, one of their edge rushers who they signed in free agency. Most importantly, they lost Aiden Hutchinson, who was on his way to maybe becoming Defensive Player of the Year. He was having a sack party week in, week out. And so Detroit knew, and this is why they were working the phones looking for a pass rusher, that they needed to bulk up the pass rush in trying to apply pressure on the opposing quarterback. Zadarius Smith is a player who, wherever he's gone, he's been very productive at getting to the quarterback. He's a little bit older, a veteran, but still has some gas left in the tank. And all the Lions had to give up was a 5th round pick and a 6th round pick over 2025 and 2026. And the Lions get back a 7th round pick. And so that's a player that I really think is going to help Detroit. Pittsburgh and the Jets also making a trade. Now, this isn't in the NFC, but the Eagles are going to play Pittsburgh later this year. They've been looking for a number 2 wide receiver behind George Pickens. Could Mike Williams be that guy? I tend to think that he's a little bit more washed as compared to being an impactful player. He is coming off a torn ACL from last year. Is he trying to get that knee up to speed? Maybe. Russell Wilson's playing pretty well. They're running the football successfully. Wilson is throwing the long ball with success. And the Steelers have one of the top defenses in the NFL. They get Williams to bulk up that receiving core for a 5th round pick, and they add an edge rusher as far as depth goes. Preston Smith is not the player that he once was, but he's a pretty solid player who is a veteran in this league, who I think is going to be able to help that Steelers pass rush, a Steelers pass rush that doesn't really need a lot of other players in getting after the quarterback. This is just yet another player that they're adding to the cupboard, and they get him for a 7th rounder. As for Kansas City, still undefeated, the only undefeated team in the NFL. They have played in so many close games this year. That's their comfort zone. That's the sign of a championship team. They have this ability to come back. They have this ability to win all of these close games. And Brett Veach, Northeastern Central Pennsylvania guy, is doing a great job of making aggressive moves and has done a great job at making impactful moves throughout his tenure, obviously, but this year going into the deadline. They trade with the Patriots. They send away a 6th round pick for Josh Uche, a pretty solid rotational edge rusher who made his impact be felt a little bit against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. And then they trade with the Titans for DeAndre Hopkins, and they give up a conditional 4th round pick. I loved that trade at the time. The receipts are there. I talked about it on my Instagram page. Everybody was trying to tell me, D-Hop's washed. He's playing on one leg. I'm like, hold on. He had awful quarterback play in 2023, still had more than 1,000 yards, and where can D-Hop help Kansas City? Right after the trade, they had the 25th ranked red zone offense. What did D-Hop do on Monday against the Buccaneers? 2 red zone touchdowns. He thrives with 50-50 balls. He can climb the ladder, go up, and get it. He's never been a twitched up, vertical threat, speedy wide receiver who's going to create separation. But he's, more times than not, going to take down those contested catches. And so he helps you in the red zone. He helps you with those 50-50 balls. And Kansas City needed another weapon. And we saw that Mahomes and D-Hop already on the same page. That is scary, and he's very difficult to guard because of his physicality. And then Baltimore, Carolina. This is a team that also the Eagles will be playing this year. Deontay Johnson, solid wide receiver. His stock has gone down from a few years ago when he was with Pittsburgh. He has some drop issues, but it's another weapon for Lamar Jackson. And so what's the theme here? Why are things getting interesting for Philadelphia? Think creatively here. Think out of the box. Because other teams who were in the Super Bowl window got better at the deadline by being aggressive. Howie Roseman didn't, but I still think Philadelphia is plenty talented to make a deep run. So my closing thoughts, Philadelphia is still Super Bowl contenders. And if they can play up to their potential, and if Nick Sirianni can get his head out of his ass in some of these game management situations, Philadelphia can be a special team. And that's why the odds makers have the Eagles with the 5th best Super Bowl odds in the NFL. Behind Kansas City, who made a move. Detroit, who made a move. The Ravens, who made a move. Moves, too. They traded for Deontay Johnson and Tre'Davious White, and then the Buffalo Bills, where Josh Allen is balling out right now. If you enjoyed today's show, give me a real one down in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much for your support.